Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Worry Serves No Purpose in Your Life. And I was thinking about this the other day at a department meeting that I had at my office. And afterwards, a bunch of us went out for some drinks and some food. And one of the women flew in from Florida. And I had worked with this woman almost 5 years ago at another company. And as we were sitting there, I started to think to myself, imagine if someone had entered the conference room at the other company we were both working at 5 years ago. And they said to us, you both won't be working here in a year because this company is going to be sold. And then they said to me at the same time, your husband's going to leave you. There's going to be a major pandemic. And you're going to be working at this company called the Motherhood Center. And you're going to write a book called A Year Without Men. And then they turned to this other woman and said, you won't be living in New York in 5 years, and you're going to meet the man that you're going to marry, and you're going to have trouble having a baby, and you're going to have to do in vitro. I think the two of us might have just passed out right there. But that was what was to come for the two of us, but it was not for the both of us to know in that moment. And it's so amazing because we walk around wanting to know the future, wanting to know the answer, wanting to know everything's going to be okay. But if someone was actually going to tell us all the things we were going to experience, it would cause so much more stress and so much more worry. Because the truth is, you cannot handle the future in this moment. Because you don't have the tools, you're not in the situation, because you can't possibly solve what's going to happen tomorrow. There are always new possibilities every day, new tools, and ways to get through things. But when we're not in it and it's not before us, it's impossible to manage it. And when you start to get this, when you start to understand that, worry serves no purpose in your life because you're just projecting your fear into the future when there's nothing you can do about it. Yes, in the moment, you can create a life that you want to live. You could put things in motion, but you can't handle the things that don't exist. And this need to know dominates all of our choices in our lives. Sometimes we play it safe, because we think if we play it safe, we know what's going to happen next. Sometimes we have sleepless nights about what will be. Sometimes we don't take risks because we can't imagine it working out. We have all these things at play all the time because deep down we just want to feel safe and secure and know. But I just told you a story that if I had known, it would have ruined me in that moment. I would have spent all this time worrying about things that were going to happen that I couldn't change, and all I could do was deal with it in the moment when it happened. And another thing that happens is if we knew, we wouldn't really live the same. Because sometimes we become so future-oriented that we wouldn't make certain decisions, and we wouldn't have certain experiences. I am so clear, if someone would have told me your husband is going to leave you in 30 years, I would not have married him. And I would have missed out on a lot of beautiful times, a beautiful life, and most of all, I would have missed out on both of my wonderful, beautiful daughters. I just wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have written my first book because of all the things I had to do to get it published. I would have been like, well, that is just too much to get this done. And I certainly wouldn't have started this podcast because I had no idea what it takes to do a podcast continuously. And it was just an idea I had. I never thought it through. I never thought about doing it more than a couple of times. But all these things have been so amazing. But if I would have seen the entire path in the moment that I started it, it would have been so big and so overwhelming. So not knowing has been the miracle, because not knowing has been the birth of this podcast. Not knowing has been the birth of 2 books. Not knowing enabled me to get through my husband leaving me, because I knew that if I didn't know, life could get better. And I'm sure this woman I work with feels the same way. If someone would have said to her, oh, your in vitro's not going to work the first time, maybe she would have never done it at all and not had this beautiful baby today. Maybe if someone would have told her, if you marry this guy, you have to move to Florida, she would have said, I don't want to move to Florida. I'm not going to go out with this guy. But she fell in love. And now they live there and they're happy. I only bring this up because you just can't know when we should be happy. We don't know. Because we don't know, we get to deal with the life in front of us in the moment. Because we don't know the future, we get to enjoy the moment. Because if you always knew what was going to happen next, you'd always be trying to fix it and avoid it and plan it. and not live, and certainly not create anything new. So life is all about not knowing and being present for what you do know in the moment. That's where you can handle it. That's where you can enjoy it. That's where you can create. That's where you can grow. That is where life is happening. Do unexpected things happen? Yes, but you will have the knowledge and the know-how and the groundedness in the moment when it happens to deal with it. Until then, worrying is not going to help you at all. I remember my Uncle Jack used to always tell me, when worry gets you someplace, call me. Until then, I'm not going to worry about it. And I used to look at him and say, how do you not worry? But now I get it. And he lived a very long, happy, healthy life. And in fact, he was an inventor. And if you think about it, he had the presence in the moment to not worry about the future and be creative. And he invented some pretty cool things. But that was his mindset. He wasn't filled with the stress and the worry of tomorrow. He was filled with the presence of today. And I'm sure if you look at your life today and you look at some unexpected things that happen, and if someone would have told you what was going to happen in the future, you would change everything. And maybe there would have been some things that were better, but there would be new mistakes. And some things you'd try to change that you couldn't. But most of all, it would stop you from living. Because every day would be trying to prevent this one thing from happening. Not knowing that when you get to that place, you will figure it out. That's the thing. We have to remember, we will figure it out when the time comes. And if we could remember this every day, remember that our worries are just projections. Our worries serve no purpose. And we could handle the future when we get there. And what can we do today to make our life better? What can we do today to enjoy our life, to create new things? And perhaps create a future that's beautiful and wonderful and abundant. I'm sure, like me, you look back in your life and wish you didn't worry about so many things that worked out. So many moments that passed that you could have enjoyed, but you were so fixated on what was going to happen next. And when you start to believe in yourself, when you start to believe that you could handle whatever comes your way, that's when you start handling your life better. Because all the worry and all the stress and all the projecting is not going to help you create the life that you want. But all the blessings, all the good times, all the laughs, all the things we did achieve, that's something to be grateful for. And when we land in that moment, whether we're disappointed, whether there's a failure, whether there's a breakup, we will have the ground in that moment to face it, even if it's painful. We will come to it with an open heart and a fearless spirit to make our way through any dark time until the light comes in again. A new beginning, a new possibility, a new path. We all know this, but when we really start to live it, it really changes the quality of our life. I truly believe the more present we are, the more likely we are to create that beautiful future. And all worry does is cast a shadow on what can be and steal this moment, this sacred, beautiful moment where you get to be here, where you get to enjoy your family and your friends and your business and new creations. But it comes with accepting that we don't want to know. So I hope you think about this today. I hope you think about the hard times that you've had and how you've gotten through them. And that you don't need to worry about what's to come, because when it happens, you'll get through those too. And when you stop all that worry, you land in this beautiful place called the moment. And this is where you have the potential for your dreams, all the things you want. You put them into action today. You keep your mind where you are, and you will always see every possibility that comes your way. And when you look towards the future, remember that maybe it'll be good. Maybe you can handle whatever comes your way and still be okay. And most of all, maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. And if you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or A Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you can subscribe and leave a comment.